Hello, everyone. I am very happy to greet you at the Art Access Forum Festival. And with our panelists today, we will talk about what it means to produce inclusive art. Many artists with disabilities that I have seen and heard call appearing on stage or in the focus of public attention a great challenge. Exposing your vulnerabilities and your differences that in most of our societies are still quite stigmatized or silenced is an act of utmost courage. But at the same time, it's a huge relief, a step forward, accepting oneself, appreciating diversity of people we are sharing this world with, and embracing the richness of a humankind. However, inclusive art is much more than just an exercise in accepting, and definitely more than using art to improve coping techniques. It's about creativity, opening stages to different voices and experiences, ways of seeing and dealing with reality. It is about the multiplicity of languages. So what is the role of arts when we're talking about inclusivity? What motivates people with disabilities to step into the field of professional art? How different their work is? What does it mean to direct or to produce an inclusive art piece? What are the special challenges in such work in different fields of art? These and other questions we will discuss with our four panelists today from Ukraine, from the UK and Germany. And from now on, I will switch to Ukrainian.
So, I would like to introduce our today's guests, and I'm going to do it by their own words. I will begin with Anastasiya Voytyuk, musician, culture manager, the head of the organization Непротоптана стежина in Lviv, Ukraine, the researcher of inclusion in the art, the initiator of musical, educational and theatrical projects which have inclusive components, the producer of inclusive professional program Погляд, member of the Council of International Inclusive Theatrical Festival, conclusive in Lublin and Brest. As a musician of Troyezilya and Bandura Girls project, she took part in creating of musical accompaniment in inclusive performance. In the past, she was a director of inclusive theatrical studio and the student theater of the Ukrainian Catholic University. She is a teacher and initiator of different courses about active management and marketing in music. She has completed a number of professional courses about management and theater therapy in Ukraine, Poland, and Germany. And from Germany, today we have Günther Grollitsch. He is one of the director and founder of Tanza Bremen Association, which from 2009 promotes inclusive dance as a profession among all the art and social fields. During many years, Günther was a dancer in many international dancing companies, and he knows the possibilities and needs of professional dance in European institutional and freelance sectors. This is very professional standards are important to him, and he seeks to establish them in inclusive art in Germany and beyond. Tanza Bremen is the first company in Germany which works on a regular basis with an inclusive team. And thanks to this, Tanza Bremen builds bridges to socially important topics through modern dance. The British company Candoco today is represented by two panelists, Toke Standby, a Danish dancer who now lives in London, and Ellie Douglas-Allan, producer who joined Candoco in 2016. Her key role is to form and develop the company's program activities. She previously worked in various production positions as Way McGregor Studio and Department of the Theatre and Dance of the British Council. Dancing company Candoco was created in 1991. It is a company with a worldwide reputation which constantly expands the boundaries of perceptions of what dance can be. It combines mainstream and experimental approaches and develops different ways of seeing life and creating art. And our last Ukrainian participant is Stanislav Turina, a certified glass artist. And this is a fragile and transparent material mainly. Beginner, organizer and curator. He was once a co-founder of the self-initiated gallery Detankula and Yefremov 26 in Lviv. Former member of an art group Відкрита Група, one of the co-founder of the studio Нормально. Atelier Нормально is a place also without a permanent place where artists with and without Down syndrome have been working side by side for 2 years. This year, one of participants, Olena Vasyuk, opened the Odessa branch of the workshop. Currently, about 15 artists with Down syndrome work in these groups. Together, all participants create and work on exhibition projects and publications. Atelier Нормально provides participants with the work of so-called freelance artists. And finally, I will tell briefly about myself. My name is Kateryna Botanova. I am a Ukrainian critic and curator who currently lives and works in Basel, Switzerland. My main focus is culture and art as agents of social and political transformation, as well as the role of artists in the process of decolonization and reformatting of social relations. In Basel, I co-director the festival Culturescapes and is the editor-in-chief of the critical anthologies that accompany each of our festivals. So I am very happy to convey the first word and the first presentation.
Can we play the video, please? We're just going to show a short film about the company.
Yep.
Could we have the next slide on the presentation, please? Ah, brilliant, thank you. So I'll introduce myself, and then Toke, you can introduce yourself. So I'm Ellie. Thank you very much for having us today. I'm the senior producer at Candoco. I've been at Candoco for around 4.5 years. And yeah, as Kateryna said in the introduction, my role is to look after the activity that we're making, the commissions that we're producing, and just to be very active in the kind of forward planning of the company's work and commissioning activity.
And my name is Toke Strandby. I used to be a company dancer for 6 years in the company, and now I've switched over to the role of rehearsal assistant as a cover for our rehearsal director, who's on maternity leave at the moment. So I'm trying this new job out, which I'm really excited about, to see that change and to see what that means, and to see if I'm possible of doing that.
Thank you, Toke. Could we have the next slide, please? So we should probably say that Toke and I, we're based in London, Candoco are based in London, and just to give some context at the minute, we are in lockdown, another lockdown, but we are able to carry on working, which is really fortunate, although Toke's in the studio today and I'm at home, but the company are rehearsing in the studio, which we're really grateful for, and trying to sort of overcome some of the many challenges that the pandemic has thrown at us. So we just wanted to give a brief overview today of who Candoco are, the kinds of things that we do. We'll try and keep it short, so there's probably a lot that we won't cover, but feel free to ask us any questions. So Candoco are a contemporary dance company of disabled and non-disabled dancers. We were founded in 1991 by Celeste Dandeker-Arnold and Adam Benjamin. And yeah, we've been going for almost 30 years. It's our 30th anniversary next year. And we're a repertory company, so we commission contemporary choreographers from around the world to create commissions on our company of 7 dancers. And we tour those works nationally and internationally. And that's been a very big part of our history, touring those works. Our 7 dancers are working with us for years at a time. They're professional dancers, and yeah, they stay with us for usually between 2 and 5 years before moving on to other parts of their career, like Toke was talking about, moving into a new role as rehearsal assistant. Could we have the next slide, please? Oh, there's a big noise on my headphones. I'm not sure if anybody else had that. So yeah, this slide is just talking a little bit about the company's approach to diversity. And I think that's really important kind of way of starting the conversation about the company's work, that we are really driven by an understanding that diversity is exciting, and that different people, different experiences, different bodies, different perspectives enrich dance and enrich the art form. And that is a really key kind of, well, that's sort of our founding principle, really, that diversity is exciting and different, and we want to explore how we can change perceptions of what dance can be and who can do it. Next slide, please. So in some quite small writing is just a brief history of some of the kind of key moments in Candoco's history. So from when we were founded in 1991 to performing at the Paralympic Games in 2012. In 2004, we ran the UK's first training course for disabled dancers trying to access contemporary dance training. And then right up until the present day in 2018, well, 2 years ago, Candoco performed on a UK TV channel for the BBC called Strictly Come Dancing. We were the first contemporary dance company to perform on the channel, on the programme, the first company of disabled and non-disabled dancers to an audience of 10 million viewers. So a really kind of significant journey over the last 30 years. Next slide, please. Maybe Toke, you could talk through the next couple of slides.
Yeah, I can try and do that. So the company's vision, as Ellie sort of already mentioned a little bit, is like trying to question what dance is and who can dance and how we dance, basically, which we do with working with various choreographers from all over the world. Really like trying to create as groundbreaking choreographies and pieces as possible, and then we will tour them around the world and to show them in various capacities, in various different ways, in galleries and theaters, festivals, fun fairs, and so on, by working with full company pieces or duets and trios. So that's, yeah, it's really exciting, and to create like a daring and excellent, bold work. So that's our aim, to keep questioning that and to keep pushing our own boundaries. So we constantly are moving forward and progress. Yeah, the next slide. Yeah, so we tour this work all over the world. At the moment, we are working on a new commission with a woman called Janine Durning from New York, and we are in our third week of that. In the spring, we will go back to restaging Set and Reset from Trisha Brown Company, and also our previous piece from 2 years ago with Yasmin Gutter, called Phase In. Yeah, next slide.
So I think we're slightly running out of time. So maybe if we could just keep the next few slides kind of going, if that's all right, Aliona. So yeah, as well as our performance program, we have a really wide-reaching learning program where we deliver education workshops around the world, trying to support disabled artists to access training in the UK and internationally, and also training teachers around the world to improve kind of the quality of inclusive practice so that disabled dancers have the same opportunities as non-disabled dancers. We have a youth dance programme that's been running for a long time, which works in the UK to train young dancers. And then, there's a lot more else that we do, but I don't have time to talk about it today. But here's some ways of contacting us if anybody would like to see more of our work or to get in touch with me directly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ellie and Toke. Very interesting start. And I would like to continue throwing the ball to Ukraine and to Stanislav Turina. Please, Stas. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stas Turina. I am an artist and curator. And because I combine these two professions, sometimes curation is new to me. I did not have time to send the presentation. Can I turn on it from my own screen? I am an artist and started doing inclusion by accident, having come across several workshops organized in Ukraine by the Goethe Institute, the German organization Touchdown 21 from Bonn. Yes, that's all. Curators Maria Lanko and Elizaveta Herman supervised from the Ukrainian side. We were invited to take part in several workshops. We didn't have the task of finding artists, just to paint. We were not preparing for any art therapy, but in the process we realized that we came there probably with the wrong mission. And these workshops were preparatory to the exhibition. And you see the slide, this is the exhibition, What is Important, which took place in Kyiv, with and without Down syndrome. In the process of preparation, we met our future colleague, who turned out to be very talented, and no one paid attention to his talent. And this talent is not very obvious, for example, for an ordinary drawing teacher in Ukraine. And we started practicing, and he started creating masterpieces. And so after the opening of the exhibition, we could not stop, and we had to walk with him further. We just didn't have the right to say goodbye and didn't want to. Walking together for a year, we received an invitation from curator Maria Lanko and Elizaveta Herman to hold an exhibition at the gallery in Kyiv. This is the poster of our first exhibition. At that time, we were already walking with 6-7 artists periodically. So we started receiving invitations from other colleagues from Ukraine. On the left you can see the album of one of our authors, which our studio helped to adapt to the exhibition. And on the right you see the look of the exposition of our first exhibition. This year we started going more public. We created Instagram account and also taught one of our colleagues, Evgen Globesov, administrate Instagram himself. As you can see, he works at home on large and even giant formats. We have limited our activities this year because people with Down syndrome are at risk conducting classes either on the street or in a chamber, literally tete-a-tete. During our walk, our colleagues have become more independent. As you can see on the slide on the left,
to create their own domestic workshops, but especially during the summer, they finally decided to understand what's around them. They went to the planners, and for us, as the artists, there's nothing surprising for us, but for a person who spent a long time at home, not only because of the lockdown, but also because of their disabilities, or for instance, social distance, it has become a huge step forward for them when those artists began to go outside. And in this way, I don't even know how to formulate it. This maybe is connected with the gaining of the new profession, because it's not that easy for them just to walk on their own. Rather sooner, we are just traveling not for walks, but when we have something to do or to meet with our friends. So our colleagues began to travel, in fact, by work, for the work, because planner is their work. And also, from time to time, their artworks are sold in the galleries. And as we say, we have provided a job place for them, which, as it's mostly said in Ukraine, they are kind of free artists. And also this year, we have begun a residence. We've organized and launched the residence with our colleagues. That is the Ukrainian-German art residence. To the left, you can see how we're working during this residence. It was a very important and interesting experience for us. To the right, you can see one of the works which has been created at this residence. It has been done by Yevgen Golubentsev himself. This is the monument to himself. So I need to say that altogether, the work with the people with Down syndrome for us is a kind of a way out. Maybe it would sound a bit too highbrow, but this is the exit to the social space without any obstacles and decorations, because Ukrainian reality looks like the people with disabilities either don't exist or almost don't exist. And in fact, it's not true, of course. Thank you. That's it from me. Thank you so much, Stas. And now from Ukraine, we will be traveling to Germany, from the visual art against to the modern dance and contemporary dance world. Günther?
Yes, hello to everybody. I'm excited to be here and to meet all these wonderful people. Yeah, back to dance. I mean, it's so exciting to have Candoco here in this discussion, because they are the role model of all contemporary inclusive dance companies. I mean, you rock. So there is a little presentation from our side. We also follow many of those fields that Candoco is featuring. Productions. We don't commission, or we had commissioned once a choreographer, but mostly we work in our own group. But this is a future planning to get in more creative languages from other artists, which is it's a wonderful idea. It's always with us a matter of how to pay it, because Germany is not that generous with the field of art in regard of long-term fundings. Anyways, let's continue. We have educational projects and corporations, and biennial festival that is this was happening this year in the 6th version. Next slide, please. So there's a little history of our company. In 2003, we started with the first project with many different people in it. I started this thing because I'm a co-founder of Step Extends project, and I was working inside of this institution. I initiated the inclusive work there, and this came out of experience that I had in Finland in 2001, where I worked together with Olotila. It's a Finnish. It was a Finnish group who worked with Tommy Parsonen, who created inclusive work there. And this was my first experience with a group of diverse people, which was so thrilling that I wanted to implant it in Bremen too. So 2003 was the first time we had the option for that. And constantly every year the success was that great that every year we did one production in that construction. In 2009 or before 2009, it got so big as a project inside of StepTex that we decided we have to make a own little group out of it. And 2009 was our founding year, so to say, as a independent group. The same year also we worked with, or we made the planning of the first edition of the international festival Eigenartig, funded by Aktion Mensch, which I have to say, Aktion Mensch is a funding organization here in Germany that supports the work with people with handicap in every respect of the society, mostly in housing or in the social, more in the social area, but they also do support things like artistic work. Which is wonderful, and they're great because without them we wouldn't exist. And with the years, we did more activities and got bigger, and we managed in 2013 to employ the first employed person in our organization was a dancer with Down syndrome, which is Nele Buchholz. She is still with us, and she is one of the big fighter for inclusive dance and for Tanzbar. Yeah, since 2013 she is employee in the company with a regular salary. And in 2015, we could, with the help of another model project, we could employ 4 more people for a time period of 3 years on a steady base. And yeah, and we went on till today. We are at the moment 7 employees in the frame of the organization, and we are planning to get bigger. Our main focus is at the moment the work with people with Down syndrome, but we were experiencing work with blind and deaf people. We had a project that was called Rauschen, which was about the life of Helen Keller, initiated by Doris Geist, who is a deaf dancer with us. And yeah, and we have we already touched all the fields of how to say that, of Herausforderung. Oh, I only have the German word, of human handicap, let's say, where there's a field of handicap. We tried how we can go over borders, and how we can get into a flow, into an artistic flow together. Okay, then next slide maybe. I noticed I could like go on for hours talking about all the history, but it's better to go on. Exactly. Productions, we do big scale and small scale productions a lot at the moment. Also a lot of special side productions in the open space, which is very handy at the moment because all the theaters are closed and we are still performing outdoors. Sometimes not with a okay of the officials, but anyways we can do it. And we do walk as cross-division projects. Next slide, please. And we do about like 6 productions a year, small and big and small scale. So it's very diverse also in that field. But also, for example, we have to say small scale productions can also be a piece of 7 minutes, for example, with a duet or something. So this is more or less the number we produce. In education, we do regular open classes. We offer tandem teachings and workshops for external organizations. We organize one-to-one trainings, especially in periods like now. For example, in summer, we were with our employees. We met like in a park to do classical training there, one-to-one. So it was quite an experience. We do youth and trainee programs, which is not our regular on a regular basis. It's more a project-based thing, and also very recent digital classes. So next slide, please. Exactly, we do a lot of, we get more and more into corporations, and as I already mentioned, we had quite a few model projects that gave us the base in order to get the work that we did going, because there's no at the moment at least there's no regular base funding in the field of a company for now, which is also this year is the first year that we got a regular funding in a small scale from the city of Bremen for our work. So we work on getting more possibilities for that. I have here a little example as a picture. For example, the picture up above, the bigger picture, is a picture of a cooperation that we did with Beweggrund, which is a Swiss company that works also in the inclusive world. And this was 2016, and it was a great experience to perform and to rehearse here and there, and to have this exchange between the countries, which we also continued in 2019 with a performance where also Danza Mobile, like a triple bill, let's say, where every choreographer from Tanzbar, from Beweggrund, and from Danza Mobile, one of the people with a handicap were also choreographing for this exchange thing. So it was quite good, but we didn't manage, due to Corona, we didn't manage to get it on tour as we planned. So I hope we will have the opportunity after the pandemic is over. Then this was international corporations. Local corporations, we have a lot of players here in Bremen that support the work a lot, and especially also there's one organization that gave us the chance to do the model project Competent, which gave us the opportunity to have these 5 employees in 2015. Next slide, please. Yeah, we also have, as I mentioned, the festival Eigenartig, which we do every second year. This year in September, it was the 6th edition. And we managed to do it, but in a very different way. It was planned to do it with international groups. We had connections to overseas. They were planned already that so many companies are coming from Asia, from America, from South America, all over the world. But yeah, as we know, it was not possible, so we switched, and we had only one Belgian group here. It was great to have them here. Platform K, which is it's their amazing group, and 2 more German groups could present the works, and we always showed like 2 times the work, because we only in a theater of 250 people, we only could fit in 40. So you can imagine there was not a lot of people who could actually see the work. And now we in the after club, so to say, we try every Sunday at 6:30 to show one of the productions that were shown in the festival online for people who are interested. And we continue to build this festival for the next years. Yes, I think there's one more slide, but this is just the final
Günther,
slide.
I really have to let you know that you have to wrap up your overtime, and we need to.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm finished. Thank you.
Дякую, Günther.
So thank you very much, Günther. And we are continuing dealing with performative arts, but we're going to switch from dance to theater, and we're going to go to the theatrical experience. And I would like to invite Anastasiya to speak about her experience from Ukraine. Greetings to you all. Greetings and welcomes from Lviv. It is very pleasurable for me to be in this international team. And even though we are now all talking through internet, I do hope that we'll have a chance to meet one day and see the works of each other in person. I will show you a brief presentation and will tell you about the VIEW project. So yes, it's a project. It's not a constant troupe. It's not a constant company. That is actually a collective that is made of children with VIEW empowerment. And basically we have different participants. We have 16 people overall, if we will count all of the people who have joined out throughout the time as choreographers and different technical stuff. If the parents, I guess we will have like 25 people overall. We're working for 2 years in a row. The project is curated by the Unbeaten Path organization. You can see there is a logo just on the lower panel of the presentation. So how did we come up with an idea of this performance? As an overall organization for more than 20 years, we have been holding a theatre festival. And this theatre festival is inviting inclusive collectives and companies from all over Ukraine, from Poland, from Belarus. We've also had the other inclusive collectives from other countries, neighboring countries, coming to us once a year for 4 days on the stage of a professional theatre. We have those theatrical performances, and we're working both with the amateurs and the amateur collectives and companies who are engaging and inviting professional actors or professional directors for collaborations. While working with this festival, we have seen and we have learned that usually the companies and the collectives, the amateur collectives, school collectives, they have some certain limits for their development unless you invest their specific professional work or professional support for them. And we're going to discuss it a little bit more today. We really wanted to initiate a project that would be slightly more professional, slightly more quality. It was better in quality, and it has made possible 2 years ago because the 2 trainers from Candoco company, they've had their training in Lviv, and we have seen how one of our participants, Marichka, with the VIEW empowerment, we have seen how she opened up because the movement gives her a lot of opportunity for self-actualization of health, self-expression. And we have decided that we're going to produce a performance where we're going to use the music, the movement, and additional plot line in order to work with people with vision empowerment and to make an important presentation, important production. We have 5 actors, children, we have 5 dancers, we have 2 musicians and an overall producer team. our musical assistant, the choreographer, and the director. We have also had the set designer, costume designer, artistic design for additional visualization. And I would like to show you a brief video. I'm going to rewind it because we have 5 minutes of this, but I would like to show you at least a minute or two of that. Those are the rehearsal process and some of the moments of our performance.
Це можна уявляти якимись кольорами, якимось світлом. Як вам це уявляється? Якимись потоками? Як ви хочете? майже у всіх людей в житті. Хтось так чи інакше з цим зустрічається. І це дуже важлива тема, з якою варто поділитися з людьми, правда?
фактично ця вистава це є
Again, so
лабораторна.
basically, then this play is actually our work, our tryout that was the first kind of play of this type. We didn't look for a model. We worked with different collectives, with different organizers. We have seen how this made, because we have tried to find it. We tried to have to find the actors for our plays, because we all had working voluntary. Everyone knows that it's done. It's a lot of work that has to be done. We just offered. We didn't choose the children. We offered them to participate in our presentations, and we wanted to create a case. We wanted to work it for the further on scaling for Ukraine, because there has been a lot of collectives for a lot of people and a lot of organizations who can in the future do a lot of good performances if we're going to engage the professional artist with that. And for example, there are some certain videos from the recording of our play that we had recently made. And it is very important just to mention that we also tried out many different moments of how to help the artists that haven't been yet working with actors with disabilities, how to get them closer to this collaboration, because most of the dancers have never participated in inclusive projects before. And for them, that was an important understanding from the people with vision impairment. So we used many different techniques. Like, for example, they wanted to spend the whole day with their eyes closed just to understand how does it feel for the dancers, for the children during this performance. What were the main challenges that we have faced throughout this work, and what are the challenges that we're facing? First of all, the lack of understanding of the importance of the work. So the society does not understand and appreciate that. For example, we should continuously collaborate with the schools for these children. We need to get them for the rehearsals. And I do believe that the school does not understand how important that is. The parents for the children didn't understand it as well. We needed for a year to talk to them, to discuss it, to explain to them why it is important, because it's their decisions in the end whether the child can come to a rehearsal. And of course, a lot of our limitations came with the lockdown. We couldn't work with our children, and those breaks in our work are very dramatic for us. And of course, the issue of additional budget, because basically we don't have any sustainable financial supports, and it's a bit difficult for us. This is basically all from my side. Thank you, Anastasiya. Thank you all the participants for the experience that you have shared. And I believe that this is a very interesting moment for all of us, that we've managed in this very short time to discuss different spheres. We managed to discuss dance, theater, visual art from different approaches, different spheres, working with youngsters, working with adults. And I would like to ask the first question in our open discussion, and that would be the question to all of you. So please just show me who would like to start with answering. And it would be very good if we could also share some more questions and discussion later on. So my first question is, yes, we have spoken of many different artistic spheres, and we have spoken of different participants and people with disability, with different age, with different level of engagement into arts. But in all of your presentation, in all of your stories, what we have heard was this issue about the professional standards, because Anastasiya has mentioned that there is some limitations for the professional development that she has shown while working with the actors with disabilities. And other participants have mentioned about the importance to introduce professional standards to their work. What does that mean for you in the framework of inclusive arts? Whether the professional standards for the inclusive arts will be the same as for the arts that does not include people with disabilities. So why it is important, and what is the best way to work with that, to deal with those professional standards? Who would like to start? I can start. That's Stas, Turina speaking. When I was starting to deal with this issue, with this question, then I have started considering this question that, I'm mostly working with the visual arts, and I'm not that aware of the practices in theater or dance. But I believe if we speak about the visual arts, then the professional standards there can be identified by, the level of professional attention to one another, by the approach that you use to one another, how you deal with other people, how you treat your work, how you deal with some certain topics. And we're trying not to be very shallow. We're trying not to be, I can't recall what's the best way to see, I don't know, we're trying not to be very overprotective. Like basically, well, we understand what kind of situation we have. We understand that there is a limit of something that our colleagues understand. You know, it's mostly about the words, the specific formulations and terms that we use, but we're always trying to work as equals. Because basically we're all in our company, we're professional artists. And I do believe that, you know, we're not trainers, we're not educators, we're professional artists. We're just working with our colleagues on the same level. They're just less experienced than us, but basically they don't have that much of experience in our artistic environment. You know, we're less experienced than our older elder colleagues, though, but it doesn't mean that it prevents us from collaborating further on.
I would give a view on the side of the dance part. My experience as a professional dancer is that it's a very long educational process that you need in order to call yourself a professional dancer, which is in the field of the inclusive dance, at least in Germany, a big issue and right now a big discussion, because there is no education, no inclusive education for dancers in that field, for handicapped dancers. There are now starting projects that promote that, like for example the company Dina 13, who is working in Cologne, is having a educational program which incorporates non-handicapped and handicapped dancers on a professional level, but also in the field of pre-education there is no big possibilities in that field, and we have to definitely do something about it, and we are on the way to do that.
Toke, Laska?
Yeah, I really recognize this discussion, and it's something I keep questioning for myself as well. How I, as being a disabled dancer, how I can keep continuing, not compromising any artistic choices in the way I'm moving or in the way that I'm working. And when Anastasiya was doing her introduction, a question really struck with me when she was talking about this difference, the difference of being a part of an inclusive process, and what the differences are between that and being a part of a process in its normality, in any other process. And I believe that we need to find a way of working that includes everything. So there is no difference between being inclusive and anything else. Because that's just good teaching practice. That's just being human and including everyone, which is the question of how to do that. And I don't have the answer for that. I keep questioning that to myself as well. But from a perspective of dance, how can we continue to work so we don't compromise anything artistically? So we work with boundaries, but also no boundaries. That we keep questioning ourselves, and that we keep understanding the limits of, or pushing the limits to what we can do and what is possible. So not anything goes, but that we work with aims all the time in movement.
Anastasiya, будь ласка.
Anastasiya, please. Thank you very much, Toke, for what you have said and for your reflections, because I also wanted to comment on this professional level, because when we are calling some certain play in Ukraine, when we call it professional and inclusive, there is a certain compromise for us, because we don't have professional training for actors with disability. We don't have professional actors with disability. We don't have professionals who have professional education that they can work, understanding all of the peculiarities of the kind of work. But the question is the right question that you have posed, that there has to be no difference with that. And we understand that when we're speaking about this professional level of our production, it's kind of marketing leverage for us, because we don't want to say that it's kind of therapy, this kind of art. So we are also need a lot of time to do this production. Like when we speak to our children and to all of the actors who are working in our production, that we are producing a play and we need this number of hours for rehearsal. So we have a lot of discussion in between that, how to pose it in the right way. We have a lot of attention to details, a lot of attention to costumes, a lot of details to our inner feelings of what is inside. We are based on our own feelings and emotions. We're not trying to pursue some certain plots or storylines to children. So we're trying to build this professionalism on our own. That's my comment. Kateryna would like to make a clarifying question just to continue in this discussion. So when we're speaking about the professional aspect of art, well, let us put it this way. So we're speaking about some certain skills, certain skill set. It's not just about the knowledge or techniques, visual body techniques that a dancer or actor or an artist should master. When we're speaking of inclusive art, when we're speaking, there are some problems of professional education. So do we mean that we need more spaces, more professional trainer, more professional teachers who will help the actors with disability to earn these skills, to master that skills? Or we are only saying that we have to broaden the borders or limits of what we call the arts? So basically, whether the inclusive art can be this kind of tool that will broaden those limits of what we call arts, and though this skill set and language set that covers this professional art would broaden as well.
Ellie, будь ласка.
I think both of your points can be true, Kateryna, that I think we, in the UK, certainly we have some training opportunities for disabled dancers that want to access the training, the same training that other non-disabled people can access. That should always be better than it is. It's currently still quite limited and there's still a lot of barriers and prejudice within the training system. But equally, I think what we at Candoco are trying to recognise that professional training is not for everybody, and it's not the only route into working in the sector. So many of our dancers haven't gone through any professional training because it's not accessible or it's not right for them. And so I think we really try to recognise that there's lots of other forms of training that don't kind of come from an institution, that comes from experience, that comes from taking part in lots of different performances, working with different artists, and that all of those experiences are as valid as the training option. So I think that's, but we're trying to kind of hold both of those things as possible in the world that we work in.
If I can make a comment there, I think it's about there's two sides. One side is the practice that the active people are doing, like that the organizations are following, and one side is the political side. Now, I think the practice we are all behind the same idea. In the political side, we always have to thrive for making a more space in that regard. That's the two, and to aim for the most possible. So that's what I was regarding to.
Günther, я тоді підхоплю.
Okay, then I will just catch the same thought and try to elaborate on that, the importance of the political presence or political statement. And I would ask all of you, in fact, because all of you have rather diverse experience in the time of the inclusive art. Some of you have worked since 1991 or the 2000s or 2009. How, during this period of time, has the context changed? Because it seems to me that the inclusive art and the work with the people with different types of disabilities really depends on the context, as whether the context is ready to perceive it, whether it's open enough, and whether the context itself, the social context, the people we're living together with, the audience of ours is open enough for the art can be more inclusive. It can have totally diverse participants. So how did it change during the time in different countries? In a nutshell, if you could. To tell shortly about our experience, we began just to deal with our colleagues recently in 2018 only, and I may say that I'm sure that this was the whole wave of fashion for the inclusiveness. And even in the world, it was a certain kind of fashion because every day you can find some post in Facebook that one more person with Down syndrome has become a model on the in the Vogue, or one more country, the beauty pageant again had some people with disabilities or got some award of Oscars Academy or some festival. So it was just totally occasionally that we dealt with that. So in comparison with the previous waves, which we could see about the inclusive art, which we also had in our country and in the world long before our atelier emerged. I'm too young to remember the beginning of the 90s. I used to be only 3 or 4 years old, so but I do see the publications, the books which were published after the split of the Soviet Union and during its so-called passive split while it still existed. So this interest to the naive art, to the problems connected with psychology of art. So it used to be rather substantial during those times, though because of the economic reasons after that, because of the instability of the institutions, this interest just vanished. But if we speak about the preconditions, if we come back a bit into the Soviet times, where I never lived, but still, considering the publications and considering how the people with disabilities were represented, it was a paradox. In the country which tried to construct socialism, they did not create the ramps or any elevators, any ways of the existence of the people with disabilities. They just tried to avoid them. They tried to isolate them from the society. So it was a paradox. Still, then, if we speak about the visual art, we could see different albums emerging of naive artists. But again, I can suspect that it existed like the dotty or individual, some really deeds or actions of the people who were interested in those topics, and they were trying just to share their interest with other people. I don't know whether I answered your question. I could like I could I could join and add some words about Ukraine, because when we began, or even my parents, the community that started in 2001, I used to be a volunteer at different events. So it was kind like this. Well, I don't want to use obscene words, but still, they said handicapped people are on the stage. So let us create it's kind of, let's give them the gifts only because they're people with disabilities. So if we look at this long way of 20 years, we can definitely see the progress, and the fashion and hype onto the inclusive projects is really cool. And this fashion and hype has, of course, some negative moments and drawbacks, but I would focus upon the positive moments. The more people we have in this sphere and the more they stay, the better is the growth. And what we could follow that in the beginning, from the absence of any art practices like these, we could say that certain groups are moving into the art therapy, theater therapy, music therapy. So there were different workshops with the involvement of the professionals and experts, but later, when the interest was increasing of the professional artists for the inclusion, and we had the rise of the projects which were the creativity of people with disabilities, which was facilitated by the professional directors or musicians, it has become a more interesting product. And now we have really cool search when we have much more professional artists who are interested in the inclusion topic. And we have directors and musicians coming to us who ask us how we can do that. So we answer, there's nothing special in that. You should just begin. You should just start. And we hope to see this growth and emerging of professional collectives later on, the increase of the number of people and artists with disabilities. I do apologize, I'd like to add, I would say this fashion in the bigger cities. This is a kind of a nice tone to create the ramp to the cafe or the special WC or the lavatory for which is created considering the needs of the people with disabilities. So this fashion is shown in the attitude of the people even who don't have anything in common. They don't have any relatives or friends with disabilities, but still this is just a sign of a nice tone or behavior or upbringing to do something for other people. Ellie, Günther, what about your work? How has it changed during the years? Do you have any important milestones during the way you would like to emphasize on your way to what you achieved now?
Toke, jump in if I'm missing anything. But I suppose, yeah, I wasn't around for the founding of Candoco in 1991, but from what I understand, our artistic director now is called Charlotte Derbyshire, and she was one of the founding members of the company. So she can talk very eloquently about her experience from when the company first started. But absolutely, it was a time when disabled performers weren't seen on stages. We were seen very much as a kind of therapeutic project for community artists. And that's what our founders, Celeste and Adam, fought very hard against, that we were a professional company commissioning professional choreographers and creating pieces of art rather than working in a therapeutic context. So they fought really hard to kind of achieve that and to be sort of seen amongst their peers of non-disabled dance companies. And I think one of the kind of turning moments for the company's history was performing at the South Bank Centre, which is a big venue in London where lots of other professional dance companies perform. I think that was maybe a few years after they'd begun. And I think from there, the kind of the reception of the company, the audiences were able to see that we were being profiled in a professional context. We were putting on productions with professional kind of lighting design, costumes, the production values were high, and the dancers were really talented. So that was always a kind of battle, but it definitely grew and grew. And then I think to where we are today, where we perform alongside other, very established dance companies around the world. But in the UK specifically, over the last kind of 4 or 5 years, maybe longer, there's been a really big push on what our Arts Council call the creative case for diversity. So really, it's a kind of governmental and Arts Council push for arts organisations who receive regular funding to be really encouraged to think about the diversity within their organisations, to think about how their artworks are reflective of society, and also to think about the creative rationale for that. So again, coming back to the idea that diversity is exciting, it's enriching, it's pushing the boundaries of the art form, and it's not for the kind of tick boxing funding exercises that can happen, but actually it's because we all want to try to expand the possibilities of what we can see on our stages and in our galleries. So that has had a really big impact for Candoco in sort of presenting our work, and I think is also starting to have a big impact on what we're seeing being programmed from festivals, in theatres, and on TV as well.
Yeah, so I'll step in. But as always, Great Britain is the the ahead country. Yes, with us in the beginning, it was very much this. Not only in the beginning, but throughout our existence, it was very much the discussion about, are we a social project or are we a cultural project? This was the also where we get the funding, the cultural, the Senator für Kultur, the official cultural organization of the city of Bremen, always said, no, we are not responsible for you because you're social. And social said, no, but we only can support you with the trainings. And so it was we were swapped over to the different departments all the time, and constantly continued to work on a professional level, which the politicians, the political speakers that we invited to our performances, they saw the quality of the work, and now they totally push into this direction of, no, this is a important cultural work, and it's for us and for our members. It's very important to say it is a artistic work. It's not a social. We do this work. Yes, we are social. We also do the social work. We do the educational work. We do the part of where soft skills are strengthened and all of that. But the main interest is the high professional standards of artistic work. And that's also reflecting in the discussion that is, especially in Germany, very much, how do you promote inclusive work? Do you have to write into the first line, it is an inclusive work, or just write, it's an artistic work? And that's the normal way, no? And that's what we try.
And I think that's exactly the battle, is that that everything, like the work, comes from a felt experience that we share with an audience. So we have to get through sort of like, we need to touch people, we need to touch whoever is watching, and invite people in to come see our work. And then, but we also need that push. We need the right people to hold our banner and to like bring us forward in what we do. Like, we can't do it alone all the time. So whenever we have the government involved, or important people who run theaters, or can have access to put our work on a special platform or higher platform than we are able to, then that will bring us into the forefront, so we can touch more people and invite more people into our experience of what art is and how we work on art. And that's also why I said before that not anything goes when we work with movement. That in order to create art and work in the arts, we need to work with a specific aim, and we need to work with such a specificity that we are able to share that felt experience with other people, so we can reach out and connect with people, and through touching them.
Я хотів би коротко.
Перепрошую, у нас лишилось
I
зовсім
do
мало.
apologize. We're very short of time now, so I would like to pose a last question for you. I think it's rather important for all of us. We are speaking now about the producing work of the inclusive art. We are speaking about the battles, yes, the battles which we have to fight in and to win. And in fact, let us now directly and indirectly speak about the battle which has the name of pandemics. We are living in the lockdown with different measures in different countries, but all of us are trying to go through it. So how did the lockdown and those restrictions impact your work? Is it possible to work and to do what you do under the situation of the restricted mobility, impossibility to touch each other, to interact together, to collect the people together, working with the people with a high risk? What's ongoing with your work now? Do you have any, maybe several, just know-hows or any tips which you would like to share with each other and our audience, how we could cope with all of that? And I would ask you to be as short as possible. We're short of time. Okay, as for the lockdown, for our project, it used to be almost the total, well, shutdown, because our actors, the children, since March, were all going throughout their homes, and they're not living in the Lviv city, they're living in different towns and villages around the city, so they were staying at home. The people with vision impaired people, they're using the app of Viber, a messenger, and it's not that easy to create group calls in Viber Messenger. Unfortunately, it was not real, so, and people could not, the children could not install Zoom, so we were trying to set up certain contact online, but it was just ending with some smileys and audio messaging, and that's it. So as the result, we had to visit every participant personally, and it gave us certain contact. And also we improved our marketing. We began to the fundraising for the next year, so it kept the tone of the company, but it was almost half a year without any rehearsals. It was rather hard. So when we met in September to restore the company, someone again fell sick and we again had to go for the lockdown. Only recently we could restore and conduct the rehearsals and restore our production. It is dramatic for us and rather complicated. With all of our efforts, we are trying to keep in touch. So we paid attention to other points around the production. This is the only tip we could provide you with. We do hope that we will go through this lockdown and we'll be able to have a tour with our production. I would like to say that for us, for the artists, it was not that hard as Anastasiya has described, because the artist is mostly working on his own or on her own at the table or at the palette. And for us, it was the time of achievements and breakthroughs, because our colleagues began to work on their own at homes. They began to liberate their own spaces for the work. For instance, recently we got to know that Yevgen has begun some repairman because he will have a separate room for the workshop. It's just a necessity for him. And of course, he is trying to get to know how to equip it. It is a necessity for him. He was speaking about the expansion of his limits and borders. When he was speaking about the Zoom, he can tell his parents, for instance, please don't interfere, or vice versa, please help me when I ask you to. So these are the achievements. And we are really happy to work with our colleagues from Germany this year who gave this whole push to those breakthroughs, because during the lockdown we totally had to change the program of our collaboration with the Goethe Institute. We had totally to change the online residence and to have a transition to make it online. So now it looks like we are finalizing this year online. We'll have an online event, an exhibition. Everything has changed, but we are still ready for certain changes. And we're trying, as there is the Chinese people's wisdom, well, that during the changes you need to create not the walls but the windmills. And for those changes to help us, we'd like to use this energy of changes for our use, for our good and the good of our colleagues, of course. That's it from me, it seems.
Well, from Tanzbar's side, we actually had a lot of changes, and it's clear we couldn't go on working as we were used to, and in dance without a physical contact is very difficult. But we went on working. We adapted to the restrictions that were necessary. And we actually, a lot of new and interesting works were appearing out of this situation. So I agree totally on Stas that you just have to take the wind and set your sail and go for it. Yeah, actually it strengthened our company very much this period. And since it's only a period, it will support us from my point of view.
Ellie, Toke, Які рецепти від вас на прощання?
What are your recipes?
I think we're definitely still working it out. I think Toke would agree. Yeah, it's been a really challenging few months. Well, since March for us, we had to stop all of our rehearsals, all of our planned touring was cancelled. And we went into kind of a period of hibernation. Lots of our dancers are from different countries. So Toke went back to Denmark. One of our dancers went back to Brazil. So everybody kind of scattered, and we did lots of Zoom kind of meetings and conversations through that time, but it was quite challenging to think about kind of moving into a dance practice online. But we did come back to the studio in September with some new company members. So a dancer called Anna moved to London from Australia during the pandemic to be with us. She's the deaf dancer, so we're figuring out how to bring in sign language interpreters into the studio in the pandemic. How does that work? So there's been a lot of kind of challenges in the studio. And then, as I said at the beginning, London and the UK have gone into another lockdown, but we are allowed to carry on working. So we are trying to figure out how to do that in the pandemic, how to work with little or no contact, how to not be in the studio for a really long period of time, wearing masks, visors, and how does our deaf colleague Anna communicate effectively when we're all wearing masks, which is a big challenge. And maybe Toke, you could say a little bit about how we're working with the choreographer Janine at the moment.
Yeah, so at the moment there's 9 dancers upstairs working with a choreographer, and I believe also it's a great challenge for Janine as well to sort of adapt her work to the measurements and how we are allowed to work in the studio, and how the company have set up these measurements and sort of rules for us to work in a safe environment, which we constantly need to adjust and talk about, which really create this fragile foundation. But we carry on and work as good as we can and as productive as we can, without sort of creating a work about being in lockdown or a work about the pandemic, but a work from Janine Durning. So that is the challenge, and yeah, that it will be great.
Дякую всім. У нас була дуже...
Thank you, everyone. We had a very saturated and long conversation, which was extremely interesting. We had enough time to speak what producing of inclusive art means, what are the professional standards and why they are important. But the most important may be that we spoke today about the main battle, which is the inclusive art should become just art, normal art, usual art, not something peculiar or special in the society. I do wish all of us to expand the limits of the inclusive society and inclusive art, and for us to go on with this fashion, as Stas said, or maybe this hype. Let them go on and help all of us and all of you in this work. Thank you so much, and goodbye.